franchise. I'm Charean Williams and this is Rick Goslin, and today we're going to talk about franchise quarterbacks. Rick, a franchise quarterback has to win a Super Bowl. We know that. That's why teams get them. That's why teams search for them to win that.
That's why they pay them.
That's why they pay them, obviously, with what Matt Ryan and Jimmy Garoppolo have gotten this offseason. It's also what separates Danny White and Tony Romo from Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach. The fact that those two guys are in the Hall of Fame is because they won Super Bowls. But you got to do it fairly quickly if you're a franchise quarterback, don't you, Rick?
Yeah, you look at the guys, the name quarterbacks. Tom Brady wins a Super Bowl in his first season as a starter. Dan Marino went to the Super Bowl in his second season as a starter. Joe Montana won a Super Bowl his third season. Brett Favre, Troy Aikman both won Super Bowls in their fourth year. Roethlisberger's fifth year. The only guy that really had to wait was Manning, and he was an MVP a couple times before he won it in his ninth year. But yeah, a franchise quarterback shows himself early that, hey, I'm special. I can take a team to Super Bowl. I can win when I get there. Dak is on that track. You know, his rookie year, we thought, boy, this guy is the next one. He's the next face on the Cowboys Mount Rushmore. You know, he's rookie of the year. Won franchise record tying 13 games, went to the Pro Bowl, tremendous completion percentage, 3,600 yards passing. Everything was going in his favor. But last year, it was a different story. You know, the first year as a rookie quarterback, the Cowboys said, you don't have to carry the burden here. We've got the best line in football. We've got the best running back in football. We got 2 Pro Bowl receivers. So Dak was kind of a supporting cast member. But last year, when there were injuries on the offensive line and Elliott got suspended, they said, Dak, you're going to have to do more. And what happens? Completion percentage goes down, passing yards go down, touchdowns go down, and the interceptions triple.
Yeah. Well, Dak, it's an important year for Dak. Obviously, not only for those reasons, but also he's eligible for a new contract after this season, Rick. And to get that big money, to me, he's going to have to show something this year. And here's the reason why. The Cowboys are in a pickle. If he has another season like he did a year ago or worse, they're still going to have to pay him. But how much do you pay him? And then you get into kind of a thing, is he really our guy? Where if he goes out and has a big year and builds on what he's done the first 2 years, then they're like, okay, we can pay him and we feel good about this, that he is our franchise quarterback. But I think it's still up in the air whether he is a franchise quarterback or not.
You cannot wait until his final year. You cannot let him enter his fourth and final season of the contract as a potential free agent. The Cowboys, I'm sure, will be in discussions with him, with his people, by the end of this season. They're going to probably see, you know, what he's done over the first 13, 14, 15 games, and then decide, is he an $80 million quarterback? Is he a $120 million quarterback like Matt Ryan? Is he somewhere in between? This is going to be a big season for him because inside of a year from now, he will have a new contract. And depending how he does this season, we're going to know if that's 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. I mean, if he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, if this team's 14-2 and sitting on the top seed, he's going to be a very rich man.
Yeah, he is. He's won 22 games, and I think that's kind of lost on people too. And if this team had won, say, one more game and they were in the playoffs, I think we look at this team and probably Dak Prescott a little differently than what we look at him now. But they only won 9. It was a winning record, but not getting to the playoffs was just huge because in Dallas, Rick, we do judge the quarterbacks by how they do in the postseason and how they do in the Super Bowl. And the fact that Tony Romo only went 2-4 in the postseason, that's how we judge him ultimately.
Yeah, and I talked to Steve Young a few years ago, and he said, hey, like it or not, quarterbacks are judged by January and February. It's what they do in the playoffs that you become a Hall of Famer, that you become a $100 million quarterback. You know, Tony Romo never got that 2-4 in the playoffs, top seed, and lost his first game. Dak in his first year, he's top seed. He loses that first game. You know, Dak is going to have to do something in January and February to really put a stamp on that franchise quarterback brand that he so wants.
He's going to have to beat Aaron Rodgers more than likely, which the last 2 times the Cowboys were in the postseason, they weren't able to do that.
He's the last guy you want to see in the playoffs.
Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to talk to Michael Gallup out at the Star. He's one of Dak Prescott's new weapons. Obviously, Michael, you had a huge season at Colorado State last year, Biletnikoff Award finalist. How does that translate here? You've been now in some of the Cowboys off-season work. How does that translate to this? What have you seen different?
Translating to this, I'm not really sure if it really helped me out that much, but I mean, being a Bletnikoff finalist, I mean, yeah, it was a good thing then, you know what I'm saying? But now it's a whole new ball game for me. You know, everything's faster. You got to learn stuff, you know, a little bit quicker. The tempo is faster. The players are better. So I mean, it's I wouldn't say, you know, straight up helped me, but, you know, it kind of showed me that I need to, you know, step my game up.
So you had a 100-catch season last year. Would you care to predict a 100-catch season this year?
I'm not sure if I have 100 catches this season. You know, we'll definitely strive for it, but I'm not sure if I have 100.
What's the biggest difference? Is it speed of the game? Is it physicality of the corners you face?
Honestly, for me, I think it's just learning what, you know, I need to do on every play. You know, there's no plays you can take off in the NFL. In college, you can slack a couple plays just because, you know, you're good enough to do that. But here, you know, every play is, you know, it can decide a ball game. But that's probably my biggest thing is just knowing what to do on every play.
I know you've heard Des. Des Bryant isn't here anymore. We know that. Is it pressure or opportunity as a chance to replace him?
Definitely opportunity. I think having a little bit of pressure, that's what gives you the edge. So, you know, we'll definitely have pressure, you know, coming off of it. But I think it's definitely an opportunity for me. And, you know, any other wideouts, you know, that just came on this year, you know, there's a spot that needs to be filled. So, you know, everybody's racing for it.
Yeah, in the college game, I believe the best players in college are on offense. And the cornerback's going to show you a lot of respect. They're going to respect your size, your speed, and all that. Here, there are 11 All-Americans on defense. The windows are going to be smaller. Have you noticed that window is shrinking on you, that ball's got to be there and you got to catch it?
Yes, sir. Definitely. You know, when the corners playing man, that's what they like out here in the NFL. You're gonna get a lot of man, and then plus, you know, having a safety over top of you, that gap that used to be, you know, pretty big in college, you know, it dwindled a little bit, but that's just, you know, a little bit more edge for me. I got to work on, you know, just about everything I'm doing, so I can have that little edge.
And how did playing in the Senior Bowl kind of accelerate your development, playing against the top flight players from the Power 5 conferences?
The Senior Bowl was definitely good for me. I got to play, you know, with an NFL, you know, system, you know, coaches, but definitely, you know, the competition level, it was definitely different. But all it did was help me. You know, I saw a little bit different of a speed. You know, I had to adjust to, you know, playing with a different quarterback. That's what I'm having to do now. So it was definitely a good opportunity for me.
You've got a few veterans in that receivers room, including Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, Terrence Williams. How much have they helped you, and what's the biggest thing you've learned from them?
Honestly, the biggest thing I think I've learned from the veteran group that we have is being able to strain. You know, in college, you run a deep ball, you know, you come back to the sideline, you get like 4 plays off. You know, now, you know, every time they tell me, you know, you've got to strain, you got to make sure you get this next rep. You can't think about anything else. You got to get the next rep. If you drop the ball, if you don't block, you don't make your assignment, you got to get the next rep, and you got to be able to strain. So, you know, that's what I've been taking into consideration a lot. But, you know, our veteran group, it's a good group of guys. They're looking out for everybody that we have in there.
You're from Atlanta. You obviously saw Julio Jones play. Is there a receiver that you liked, that you admired, that would almost pattern your game after?
That's honestly who you know, I'm not anywhere near as big, as fast, you know, obviously. But, you know, I like to play just like Julio. He's going to run right through you. He's not scared of contact, and he's going to go up and get the ball. So that's who I watch. That's who I like to, you know, develop my game into trying to be.
The ball belongs to him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Michael Gallup, thank you for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the franchise. Rick, in this segment, we're going to talk about the Cowboys passing game specifically and really what Dak needs to do with all these new weapons. He's got a ton of new weapons, as we know. Their current cast of receivers and tight ends only has 1,000-yard receiver ever on it, and that is the newcomer Allen Hurns. Everybody else is just kind of have been guys, including Terrence Williams, who's returning. What do you see Dak doing this season with that new cast of guys, and what does he have to do maybe that he didn't do last year, that he did a lot better his rookie season?
Well, this is going to be a passing game unlike I think we've ever seen in Dallas. You know, we've always been able to watch a Des Bryant, a Michael Irvin, a Drew Pearson. It's always been that lead receiver, the go-to guy. There's no go-to guy in this group. You know, I think this is going to be an offense, a passing offense that's driven more by scheme than by the players in the scheme. Last year, you knew Dez was going to get 10 passes. Witten was going to get all the third down receptions, and he was going to be the safe outlet pass. You can't pinpoint who's going to be that guy this year. I think Dak is going to be, much like he's done last year, he's going to go where the defense takes him. If you want to take away Hearns, then we'll throw it to Beasley. You want to take away Beasley, we'll throw it to Gallup. And I think he'll go where the scheme dictates. So from one week to the next, you may have Gallup catch 6 passes one week and Terrence Williams catch 6 passes the next. There won't be a 100-catch receiver in this offense. There very likely won't be a 1,000-yard receiver in this offense. This is going to be on Dak. He's going to have to make this offense go with his reads more so than even his arm.
We talked about the differences between his rookie year and his second year, and interceptions tripled and all the other numbers were not as good as his rookie season. A couple things played into that, we know. Tyron Smith was hurt a lot last season, was never fully healthy. That offensive line just wasn't the same. They couldn't find a left guard. And then the other thing was Ezekiel Elliott being out for the 6-game suspension. The Cowboys went 3-3 in those 6 games. How important is it going to be for the Cowboys to make sure they have that offensive line back where it was so Dak can go through those progressions, and then for Ezekiel Elliott to stay on the field for 16 games to be productive in that run game?
I think another element that really hurt last year was Doug Free. I thought he was a very underrated right tackle, and this was not the best line of football. They built it going into the season. We have the best line of football. This was not the best line of football. Frankly, the Eagles had a better line last year than the Cowboys. It's going to be this going to have to be a replay of 2016 for the Cowboys to have success. They're going to have the best line of football. They're going to have the NFL rushing champion. Elliott has to have a monster year. That's why the Cowboys were able to survive in 2016 with a rookie 4th-round draft pick. They had a running game. They had a blocking front. You had to stop Elliott. I think when defenses look at the Cowboys, they're not looking at Prescott. They have to stop Elliott. You had to stop Emmett. Now you got to stop Elliott. If the defense is going to focus on Elliott, you're going to have a lot of single coverages, and Dak has got to find the right guy through his progression of reads. But it's going to be on Elliott to basically contend for a rushing title in this line to give him that chance for Dak to flourish.
If Zeke does that and Prescott is able to play like he did as a rookie, does this team have what it takes, you think, to contend for a title? Because when I look at that defense, I think the defense is going to be better. To me, and this is weird because we don't say this in Dallas, or we haven't over the last few years, but to me it's on the offense in Dak Prescott how far this team goes, because I think their defense could keep them in games.
Yeah, I think they could be a better team. The problem I've got is the Eagles are the best team in football.
Yes.
And they're a better team on paper now than they were the night they beat the Patriots. You know, Carson Wentz is back. He would have been the MVP. Darren Sproles, Pro Bowl returner's back. Left tackle, Pro Bowl Jason Peters, he's back. Middle linebacker's back. Yeah. They get the best tight end in football. The Eagles are better. They're better than a 13-win team they were a year ago. Are the Cowboys better than a 9-win team? Maybe they get to 10, maybe they get to 11, but they still haven't closed that gap in the Eagles. I think they can be a playoff contender, but I don't think they are a Super Bowl contender this year.
I'm with you. I think they contend for that wild card berth, and to me, I think to save Jason Garrett's job, he probably has to get in there and win a wild card playoff game to keep his job.
It's going to be all about Dak Prescott and Jason Garrett.
All about Dak Prescott and Jason Garrett this season. Thank you for joining us again on this episode of The Franchise, and we'll see you again soon.